Hey, I'm Victor Lucas from EPN, where we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. And we are going to move on to our next category in the 2018 Rocket and Raygun Awards, which is Best Indie Game. Here are our nominees. Moonlighter, developed by Digital Sun, published by 11-Bit Studios. Celeste, developed and published by Matt Makes Games. Owlboy, developed and published by D-Pad Studio. Hollow Knight, developed and published by Team Cherry. Dead Cells, developed and published by Motion Twin. All right, some incredible games there, but I wanted to hear from friends and from people in the EPN community about their picks for Best Indie Game. Let's take a look.
If I had to choose a game that was independently made by Motion Twin, would it be Dead Cells? Yes, it would be. Motion Twin crushed it. Hands down, Dead Cells.
Dead Cells, I love this game. Its artwork is fantastic. Its gameplay is great. You keep going, you keep discovering new things, new weapons. It's an excellent game.
Best indie game, giving that one to Minute. That is a really cool game. It plays off of the Legend of Zelda formula, the top-down kind of slasher, but gives it a really cool twist, that 1 minute time limit per life, and it's just cool, man. I love that game.
My pick for Best Indie Game of the Year is Celeste.
Got to be Celeste. To me, it's the best 2D side-scroller platformer from an indie developer since Super Meat Boy. It punishes you so much if you do the wrong move, but it's very easy to just pick yourself back up and just try again over and over. And even the story, which is not usually something I put a lot of attention into, actually moved me in some areas, and it went to a bunch of dark places I wasn't expecting, but at the end it was really heartfelt, and I really appreciate the experience of it. It plays well, it's incredibly thoughtful, and I highly recommend if you haven't checked it, please try out Celeste.
VR is so full of indies that it's really hard to narrow this one down, but I gotta give the edge to Beat Saber. It was a 4-person dev team who made probably the most addicting rhythm game I've ever played. It's got some sick, catchy tunes. Anyone can play it. It's a blast. It's just great.
My pick for the very best indie game of 2018 has gotta be Celeste, because it feels like a great transformation of the genre. So many games that try and be indie now all have that really retro aesthetic, but they don't really know what to do with it. Whereas Celeste is so good because it's kind of just an explanation of the fact that no matter how things look or how things play, it's about what you can overcome. As long as stuff is fun and tells you a good little tale, it's worth playing. And I gotta give it credit for having such an amazing soundtrack on top of everything else.
For me, the best indie game of the year was an incredibly close race, but I'm going to give the nod to Dead Cells, which did an incredibly good job setting up a challenging series of levels, but allowing me to feel very accomplished and rewarded for beating those levels, and I did have that little bit of sense of progression from failure to failure to failure.
Dead Cells by far is my favorite indie game of 2018. From the Metroidvania aspects of the game to collecting new weapons and figuring out which one should I use as I go into this part of the level. You go in, you figure out the patterns of the enemies, you figure out which weapon does the most damage or which weapon doesn't do the right damage on an enemy, and you die. But essentially you go back and learn your lesson. That right there is the perfect marriage of just addictive gameplay and rewarding aspects that you just don't get in other indie games. You feel very fulfilled once you figure out the pattern of getting through a level.
Best indie game was probably the hardest choice I had to make, but let me tell you about a little game called The Messenger. It is my indie game of the year, and it was actually the studio's first game that they've ever made. It's their debut game. It's a very, very interesting platforming game where you actually shift between time periods from past and present that switch between 8-bit and 16-bit. Couple that with some really cool ideas where you can actually jump multiple times after hitting different items or enemies, unlockable paths, tons of items. This is an outstanding platforming game, and it's my indie game of the year.
I mean, the best independent game this year, we think, was Celeste. What a game, right? You take this platformer, you take this action. It's the, you screw it up and you get right back in and you go and you go and you go. And the checkpoints being like, you're in larger levels, but the mini checkpoints, right? Of I just have to get to that side of the screen. I just have to do it. You toss in B-sides, you toss in all the berries, you toss in an amazing story, right? I don't think any of us saw that coming in Celeste, something that would reach out and touch us the way it did, but it did. Celeste is an overall package, and that's why we love it.
Terrific commentary, everybody. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's take a look at EPN's nominees here, okay? Moonlighter really stole my heart because it's a great fusion of Zelda-style hack-and-slash action adventuring with this really charming merchant component in there where you open up your own store. So clever and so absorbing and so addictive. Owlboy is another fantastic Metroidvania out there, but it really kind of mixed up the game design by allowing you to fly around in your owl suit and jointly work with other NPCs to kind of become more powerful as you explored the environment and defeated the evil that's in the game. Also, gorgeous music and great visuals in that title. Hollow Knight is an incredibly mysterious and evocative, very challenging experience that kind of blends a little Metroidvania, adventuring and hack and slash type gameplay with a Dark Souls kind of challenge. Incredibly intelligently made, cool characters, unforgettable design, and a wonderful, wonderful title. Dead Cells is loaded with lots and lots of challenge and also a terrific loot system in there that gives you incredible weapons and incredible powers and abilities. But our winner is Celeste. Perfect precision in terms of jumps and navigation, almost Super Meat Boy-esque, but there's also this underlying story that's filled with intrigue and mystery and lots of surprise and lots of heart. It's a beautiful game, and everybody at Matt Makes Games should be incredibly proud of this. This was an incredibly difficult category to pick a winner from because all of these games are extraordinary, and you owe it to yourself to go out and check them all out. But if we have to pick a winner, it is going to be Celeste. Congratulations, you are a Rocket and Raygun Award winner for Indie Game of the Year.